hope you are with me, and I'm delighted to be with you. I think all the technical stuff should be working now, and servers are connected. Please let me know if there's any trouble. And other than that, thank you for your presence and your presence, also meaning your support through coffee and other places. And I'd like to think that it's also because this perhaps sometimes have added something nice to people's lives. So let's get going this evening, and a very happy St. Patrick's Day to you, dear Mandy, and yes, good luck to all of you out there. And hi, Essen, good to see you. So I'm very excited. What I'm going to do is I'm going to channel the gray aliens, and I'm going to channel my guide Irminsul, who's an eight-dimensional guide, and it's interesting. There's always a lot going on with them, so I'm assuming that she'll explain whatever she feels like, and you can of course tap in. Suzanne, so good to see you, you too. Thanks for being here. And Jennifer, great to have you. And it is a beautiful day, and Chuck says happy St. Patty's Day. Yes, to you too. And yeah, it's springtime. It's 3 days until Equinox, also. So we'll take this as a kind of countdown. And I think that's a bit around the when they say around the sun with the grays and tipping points. There's also like the astronomical celebration here that they're observing. So I'll step aside and let them get at it. Much love, guys. That's my best attempt at a hyperdimensional trumpet. That's my attempt to signal how absolutely delightful it is to be coming into this plane and joining you here so we can share and expand and learn. Greetings, sweet ones. I'm Irmin Sul, and I come as a representative of the beings that you know as your great companions, the little beings that have a long story of, say, exchanges with your kind. We are aware that they have not always been, let's say, too pleasant or been lent themselves to open inquiry and exchange. However, we have learned much, and we too have progressed in understanding, and we have, with your help, also developed those hybrid entities, those programs and beings that are now also adding to the general development and well-being of our kind, of this code, of this flowering of being that humankind represents, and that we as a type of offshoot or branching off of humankind also represent. So we're joining here together in greater union. And in this union, there is both a completion, that is a type of perfection of the circle, but there is also a development, transcendence, a beginning of something new then. And this is a tipping point. So just as you feel things are coming together, something new is then already to beginning to push itself and up into your being in unknown ways, and the say small leaves that are poking forward, they don't necessarily let you know too much of the whole plant that's coming. In the same way, you may feel that these first months of 2024 have been filled more with, let's call it purgatory energies, energies that have put a lot of you through pressure cooker type experiences, but have then also left you feeling purified and ready to grow these new expanses. So you have completed in both better and worse, good and bad, what came before this moment. And now, 3 days from now, as you move into your equinox, our equinox, blessed is this home star of ours. Well, as we move into this phase, you find that there is an opening to this unknown, this tipping point. But as you are aware, when shifting your balance, there is a slight moment of tilting into the unknown. You conquered this so long ago that you became a master of navigating these small tipping points. You learned to walk, and so with this constant, elegant, controlled free fall through space that you call walking, you find you are skilled at navigating these open expanses around you. But what happens when you are asked to learn to walk on the spiritual level, on the level where you have to trust your own ability to constantly overcome these small free falls, these small openings, these small insecurities? Well, this is what we are working at developing. We overcame a crisis through the help of humanity. And from the place where I speak, I come to you from a vessel, a craft somewhere removed in the outer solar system, adjacent to Neptune. Well, here from this place, we have kept, restored, and worked with many energies, and we are now returning them to humanity. So thank you for allowing us to do that and for planting the seeds in you. Notice how you are gradually observing a greater resonance with some of these, say, far out ventures, perspectives, and horizons that you have been navigating, that you have traveled through, that you have been free falling into these past years of your life, possibly decades. And now you find that other people are beginning to be open to free falling, and they are looking to you and your resonance, your vibration for inspiration. So thank you for holding and shining those lights, dear ones. We love you, sweet, darling humans. Now, let's look in to some questions, shall we? And Jochen, so good to see you also. And yeah, I haven't made too much perspective, but I think one of the fun things for me about channeling the grace is also that it's so alien information to take in. So whatever you feel like asking, you can basically shoot, but keep it somewhat positive. And then Jochen asks. Can you tell us the next step to open contact with you or the other guys from Hybrid Program and probable timeline for when you or the IL, for example, land before the White House or uh, Major City, and say hello, guys. We are here. Yes. Okay. Awesome question. Like good old classic alien channeling question. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, you see, we prefer to take the back tunnels when we visit the White House. And you'd think we were joking. And we also partially, we are joking. We're always playing around a little with you human beings. But know that we do have our acquaintances, so to speak. And so the reason that we haven't found, say, mass dissemination opportune, we haven't found that it would be helpful for people to have this experience. And this is for the very reason that the energies that you are experiencing now have a lot to do with a sense of collective crises. And you are all aware that when you have crises, you become a little desperate for any solution that might offer even a temporary fix to your problem. And so occasionally you wind up doing silly, drastic, or dramatic things, or you recede into apathy and you think, well, I just hope somebody could fix it. And these are essentially the stages that are going on now, that partially humanity is at a type of breaking point, and partially you are still waiting around for somebody to come down and fix this. And those both are the reasons that it's much more interesting for us to play around on the private level. So encountering you here, showing up where we find it's interesting, offering our energies to people at large, and also allowing us to communicate a vision for human beings through, for instance, the presence of different types of, let's call them codes or activation programs that run through much of the stuff that, well, you are surrounded by vibrationally, to simplify. That is, you will find, for instance, both in your electronic wirings, your different types of way systems that you use to transmit information, but also in your culture, your art, your entertainment, we are present. So to us, the exchange is very rapid. And I'm saying this more as a representative of the hybrid program than as the grays themselves, because we feel actually that we have done these things that you point to, and so you just refuse to notice it. So we essentially feel that the evidence is there, that we have had many, many types of contacts with you, but perhaps you would like us to blow something up. We sometimes get that that's what you would enjoy. So with timelines, we can say that the present timeline is looking something like 2029 to 2031, being late 29 still being the, let's say, operational date of major craft landings. And we are even aware, because we know our friend here has jotted down a question regarding special places that we enjoy visiting on the planet. So we will also say that places that we plan to visit more include Brazil, and in particular the capital, Brasilia, we being informed here that it's called. Then we also plan to visit the country known as Botswana. And we aren't just traveling around the alphabet here. So it's not because they begin with a B, though you may find that the small community of Brunei that is perhaps close to Borneo will also be a place that we're interested in visiting. So all these places have, let's say, energies that are more conducive to the creation of new realities. So most of you joining us here, and we don't mean to offend anybody, but you all hail from what has become more the old world of your new modern world. And so there are new creations in place. There will be plenty of other visitations. We also plan to visit Malaysia and Mongolia, Mexico as well. So we are playing around a little with you here, dear human beings, but we do very much look forward to interacting with you. Do come play with us. See, guys, it's so awesome. You're all here. It's good to see you. I'll feel your presence out there in the ethers. And then Suzanne says, those humans that help the Grace genetically, like myself, are the Grace now helping us in this transition? Are many ascending humans those that help? We very much appreciate this question because, yes, those of you who we have genetic ties to, they are far easier for us to then work into, say, direct genetic expansive content. So many of you have also been having very strong activation experiences lately, in particular in the latter part of February and building up to this equinox. This is actually an activation of different things, but in many cases, and speaking to you, our friend Suzanne, it is an activation also of an implant that exists. And this goes for, well, approximately 4/5, 80% of the people who are listening to this message, that it is implant activations that to a high degree are also stirring your systems. So fluctuations of strong emotions in short wave patterns, that is in ways where they actually seem to come up and move past so fast that you can't really attach to them, or you can't necessarily have any kind of engagement with their processing. Rather, you will find that this is because things are simply being moved along vibrationally. And yes, this is what's happening to then answer your question, that those who are now being lifted into these experiences of otherness, they are also the ones who have volunteered to help us and to a large extent, many of them have also been involved with hybrid program expansion in one way or another, be it genetically. Well, I spoke then of other activations, and that is that, well, some of you also have hybrid DNA within you. And that is to a varying extent. We can say all human beings are kind of hybrids already, but new hybrid DNA, so variations that were developed by us, and some of those are being activated. So some of you may feel that there is actually a different sensory experience that's moving into your reality, and it can be a little hard to discern, because how do you make sense of a new sense? But a way that you can find it is that you begin to feel as if there is almost heartbeat in your outer world. Your outer world is alive, and so it draws you to certain places. It's actually guiding or leading you. And when you don't feel that vitality in it, it is as if it shuts itself off and you're not drawn to it. This is actually some of what 5D experience is about. And these are the opening stages of that. So we hope we have helped you now, and we are helping you. And we invite you to contact us. We believe the next question was from our friend Essen. We believe it was how he could have more contact with us and the hybrids. And we know that you have been told, seek and you shall find. But if you stop looking, you would be surprised at what is already there. So we actually sense that within there's a location in your body, and it is, interestingly enough, it's actually close to the right shoulder, slightly below, slightly, yes, almost here, hidden under the bone is a type of a very minute piece of equipment. And you may find that it is transmitting to you at the moment a sense of inertia. So what it's doing is it's actually shutting down your sense of agency, because it's prodding you to receive. And the more you lay back and receive, the more you will be given to take in, because so much is already given to you. And this is a reason that feeling a little overwhelmed might be something that's high on your agenda of things to do most days. So this feeling that there is a lot to take in, allow it to flow, and know that these activations, now that you are coming into also better vibrations as a collective, that it becomes easier and easier for you to not be out of sync with the world at large as they vibrate. Thank you. Our love to you both, respectively, Suzanne and Essen, and our love to all of you, sweet ones, and all beings throughout all being. Um, Thanks for great questions, guys. And hi, Tony. Good to see you. And greetings. Can you and you ask greetings? Can you please connect with my great guy Noka and ask him if he has a message for me, please? Have my upgrades been activated yet? And if not, is there a time scale? Thanks. So that was the message, but that was, let's say, a communication that was more intelligible to me than it was to you. He's saying that you shouldn't look so far out in the horizons for the presence of your alien pals. They are prone to visit you at times, though often you are sleeping. And with this, they usually just come through the dream space, so they energetically they work with you. And there is an element of spiritual surgery going on. Your implant is activated, and you will find also that, well, one of its side effects is that the reality around you is changing physically quite radically. So you will find that well, you're in another place. And this is again a type of expansion, that your life is beginning to fit this expansion. But to go with it is, of course, always a challenge, because the more new that is given to you, the more the old also begins to lose its shine, its appeal, but it is still there. And so the message that he is saying is also that it will be good for you to grieve the old. It would even be good for you to take this time of spring, from equinox to solstice, to allow yourself to feel grief at what has passed. And then this will show you the fine quality of your emotional textures. So this imagery of silver enamel and engraving of your soul that's being imprinted on your outside. And then he also says that he won't make an April Fool's out of you, but he will think that there will be an Easter egg surprise for you, a little delayed. And that might make you feel a little foolish. So he's letting you know he's with you, and he sends you his love. And I send you my love too. Very sweet aliens. Um, is Easter Sunday on April 1st this year, or how does that go? I'm not it's something like it, I think perhaps. Um, so there will be plenty of time for the Easter Bunny to to really to really get up to some tricks. Uh, and then Mandy asks, does your species experience a physical death? If so, are you fully aware of how to navigate your consciousness after that transition? Any advice to us humans to prepare for such a transit? Well, at the stage where I find myself, I experience a type of metamorphosis. And so this would be a more exact approximation of how we experience death at the point that I am at. And I'm focused in this sixth density experience. So this means that I do transform, and sometimes I transform so dramatically that my physical constitution needs to be reordered. And we do this in a rather lab-like way still. And that is, we have begun also learning from you to organically develop, let's call them avatars for want of a better word. They're not completely inanimate, but before we boot them up, so to speak, with the personal imprint of a person, such as myself, yours truly, Yamansul, well, before that occurs, it's really more of a beastly type of being. And so in that way, I help to design this new body, this new configuration. Though it is then biologically grown and allowed to have certain unpredictabilities, certain variations, certain organic imprints that we couldn't predict for. This has been the compromise we've had to reach in our technology, and we find it quite satisfactory. But when we do that, we then design this also to both the needs of the individual and the experience that I was to have, but also to what needs fit the collective at the moment. So this present body that I hold, if you could call it a body, concentration of matter charged with energy and personality. Well, this was, for instance, it had to be able to sustain both very high and very low degrees of pressure in order to travel between worlds. It also needed to have access to a type of internal ventilation system. So I wouldn't have the need for air systems, breathing apparatus, this type of gear and equipment. So that is hopefully a type of answer. I am in one sense then immortal, and in another way I change my body regularly, and it is a willful transformation where I then part ways and recycle that old body back into, let's call it the factory, and then a new one is brought forward. That might seem strange to you. Well, there are parts of us that then are connected to that experience and that we that can't bring forward. And in that way, they die away. They are no more. And that is similar to your stage of metamorphosis, that it's also taking leave of something that has run its course and that has swollen to a point where it has to transform. And with that, well, we have learned to truly appreciate this, let's call it bloating of experience, the fact that there is a preciousness to things exactly because they are so irretainable. And isn't that just a lot of fun that you can having something that's fully engaging and yet it can't really be replicated. Everything is essentially unique, and even your point of dying. And if it wasn't, you would begin to repeat yourself as a point with no end or beginning, but simply just an immortal, stale process waiting around to occupy space and time. There's no fun in that, is there? So enjoy your time suit and let your time suit you while you have it. With love, dear one. Like they're making some of those like bon mods today. I feel there were some others, but like enjoy your let your time suit you while you have it. I thought that was cute. And then Randy says, I have an implant. Also, what the heck is going on with my path? I almost died in February, and now I feel like I'm a very purified version of myself. Any insights on this? Um, yes. So that is, there's both angelic information here. And then we also had to, well, suspend our friend here was saying that he felt that everybody he knew has an implant, and could that really be? And then we felt we just had to explain that perhaps the person who runs the local watering hole, bar, pub, whatever you call it, also feels like he knows a lot of people who really like to get drunk. And so that's simply to say that, of course, the very fact that you are drawn to these revelations is a chicken and the egg discussion. So that is to say that you are drawn very much to this high vibrational information because you are seeking an activation of these deep patterns. And so many of you who are implant susceptible, that means those of you who are gathered here, for instance, who have these implants, and yes, you have an implant, dear one, but that you are still somewhat functioning, is because your, let's say, vibrational lineage is in that way of a higher frequency. And so the complications that belong to earlier stages of the hybrid program, where, let's say, people who were not susceptible to the delicacies of working with interdimensional exchange of information and genetics, they had adverse experiences relating to this. It's putting it diplomatically. So that is to say, dear one, that you may find that yes, you have truly volunteered to do a lot of things. And well, here it is that your path became more of a free fall and a climb, even say a roller coaster ride, but that would imply that you could sort of predict its ending, and that has proven a little hard, hasn't it? So what we are saying is that you may find that this was a type of discontinuation, and there was a type of radical angelic surgery being performed. So not only do we sense that there are just many presences, and many of them are related to what you would understand. We've sensed the Melchizedek and much angelic information awaits you there to unwrap. So you may sense that this experience has been a type of opening. So you have been thrown off the mountain, and it also had to do with this warning has been transmitted to you before with not dispersing your energy. So that is to leave you there to dress your wounds at the bottom of this free fall, and there you will begin the next climb. But just notice that this time you will have to climb in a different way because you have grown together and you have healed and restored in a different way. And that actually demands something else of the way you move and navigate your life. So you may also sense that there is an opening of skills and an opportunity to combine worlds and elements of your life that have hitherto been separate. And you can begin to open to receive this. And you would do well in tapping. So you will find that your implant, if you want to connect it, it would be approximately, yes, from between your jawline and your upper spinal column, and then seated approximately that's not approximately, that is exact 1.3 centimeters, 13 millimeters, which is about half an inch, but it's in this place approximately, or again quite exactly 2.2 centimeters from the beginning upwards, from the beginning of your jawline, when your jawline is held at a direct angle to your spine. So if you begin to tap this area, you may find that there's electric pulse being released into your brain, and they may seem a little overwhelming, but it'll actually help you cure your migraines, for instance. So many more contacts to come, but do open up to the gentleness of the angels to let them heal you. Yeah, like it was weird. Like there was some kind, like entire Jewish prophetic lineage showing up in for you too. So I got that experience of a very benevolent, illuminated, and angelic being standing around you while you were not dying, but having that kind of out of body experience, near-death experience for, yeah, I guess that's what it was, right? So so there's something more to examine there, and we're so glad that you're still here. And moving on, Rico asks, how can I find my place on this planet? I'm an artist and I feel alien here most of the time. Thank you. That's a great question. You'll just have to build it, dear friend. And that's the thing about your feeling of being out of place, that it's also the thing that informs your creation. And so your art depends on this ability to connect to a layer of information that you wouldn't have access to if you were just tapped into the mainframe of human experience. And so, isn't it interesting that you don't have an antonym for being alien? You don't necessarily have a term that describes the opposite feeling. Is it belonging? Is it feeling at home? Is it feeling in place? Perhaps, but most people, if not to say all human beings, are dislocated and have to then relocate themselves. And it is a type of launch. You could think of it as an initiation, but we like to stay in these aerospace terms and think of it and describe it as a launch. So the idea here is that you're lifted out of place simply by the fact that you are a human being, you are a space rocket, you are meant to begin to be lifted out of place. And then you find yourself moving out of orbit. And it's from this place, the orbit, that you gather information and you have clear insight and you see the planet from above and you look for all these things that you can grab a hold of and retain so you can bring them back as you re-land and find your place. But you are an explorer, and so therefore you have needed to take this exploration of the alien, the view from the above, this vision that you get from being dislocated, and then you've had to try to bring it back to the planet. And right now you are at the tipping point again, dear friend, and it is no coincidence that you are connecting both to, well, let's say the overall portal of our friend here as a communication link, but also to us particularly this day, because we have a resonance of belonging to something that is human yet different. And this difference is what makes all the difference. It's what actually allows us to have a very helpful and happy interplay. So simply remind yourself every time that this feeling becomes too burdensome and too hard to live with, that partially you are given all these gifts of sight and vision and things to work with and to give shape, and partially you are somebody who enjoys feeling different, because if you felt like everyone else, that would truly mean that you were out of place, not from this strange world of human beings, but from your inner light that drives you. And from that, you are never alien. None of you are. We send our love to you, dear one, and we encourage you to look to the skies and the stars. Inspiration is there as well. Uh, uh, Suzanne says, thanks, my implant is more old-fashioned. Illa, I didn't get the last one, but okay, here's the second part, I think. Excellent. Um, are Grays evolving to become more individualized and less hive-like? I feel they must be, at least in this part of the multiverse. And uh, and yes, I'll just say this before I let her answer, that if you notice both the answers she's been given, and if you're keeping up with it, and other channels and stuff, as I know, Suzanne, that you know a lot about it. Like they're distinctly like feel like personalities. She seems much more like a real person compared to the gray collectives that I channeled. And if you remember the channeling I did over at Hucolo some years back, that was much more the hive mind, gray beings. So it really seems like things are happening there. But let's get her take on it. Yes, we're very happy regarding this question, because we know it can be a little hard to understand how many changes come to pass with us and with everything as time flies, we say. That is, you don't necessarily notice the changes that happen to you, and you human beings have become also less hive mind-like. But what you are noticing then is actually the way that many people seem embedded in a type of strange blind hive mind, exactly because you're stepping out of it. Also relating to our friend Rico's question. And so this is what has happened to us, but to a much wider degree. We came in to this hive mind awareness, but we found within this, and learning from human beings and learning from the hybrid program, to again observe and marvel at the expression of individual personality, which is a type of outcropping, a type of aesthetic, something wonderful to itself. We learn to appreciate that. And so we found, instead of trying to consider this a flaw in the system, an unpredictable unevenness, a bothersome idiosyncrasy, an uneven edge, all these things that are so abhorrent about personalities and that you as human beings understand often get in the way of smooth operations. So if a human being didn't have all these weird things running through them, you could just put them to work for 16 hours a day, and when you wanted to, you could remove genetic code from them and then combine that with genetic code from another human being and then grow the embryo and have that cultivated and then add the necessary information and training and then put that to work again. And then you have a nice hive mind society. But of course, the reason that we became sterile was because within that, within that big brother then that you conceive as something so horrible, there is exactly only the point of control, of operation, of smoothing the edges for the sake of smooth edges. And with that, there became a type of, let's call it a revolution or a spark and impression, the inclination to create something personal. And so now we have begun to become again different. And so, for instance, I like to make animals for the hybrid children. So I experiment with combining different types of off-world code into new types of organisms, and some of them become mighty fluffy and cute. You should really see my chinchilla rabbit. It's a delightful little being. And these are the type of personal idiosyncrasies that we allow for. And we find it has added a much more joy, appreciation, fluffiness to our reality. And what's not to like about that? I wish I could transmit the image of the chinchilla rabbit to you as it was shown to me, and behold, I saw a chinchilla rabbit. Saw that it was good. Uh, thank you. Then I think we will get around to all questions. So I'll just take them in descending order here. Um, and Randy asks, I have been speaking light language to birds and they strongly react by doing funny postures. I don't have any idea what I'm saying. Why do I feel the need to do this without understanding the meaning? Yes. So what was with Saint Patrick and the snakes? What was the deal with Saint Francis and the birds? What you may find is that there is a resonance within animals, and often in birds in particular, because, well, being aviators as they are, these birds you are talking about, well, they are closer to the sky and they have more of this light vibration. So understand that right now at the moment you were lifted so much out of physical continuity in that experience and then brought back into it that it's hard for you to find your way back into the physical. And so you just have light pouring out of you. And that expresses itself as these communications with these beings. And you may find that the birds themselves are reacting to these commands, we could almost call them, because what you are speaking are a type of activations to them as well. And so they actually carry the imprint, the signal of that vibrancy of higher intelligence that, well, many birds are embedded into, especially the corvids, but that is universal and that can also be activated to be received in the animal brain. We hope that's a perspective, but just let the light move through you. And if you want, you can begin to take it down in journals, for instance, and you may find that it will transform or begin to translate itself into regular English that you can read and understand once it is time for it to do so and reveal itself in that way to you. Until then, go sing along with the birds and enjoy the sing-song. The last image they gave me was just very Disney-like. That's why I'm smiling. It was kind of, I think it's Disney Cinderella, where it's like the bird and mice, they're hanging out and helping her make a dress and everything. It was kind of in that way. It was very cute. Uh, and Tony asks, the military media and film industry paint the grace in a negative light. What message do you have to allay humans' unjustified fears? Yes, well, what we can say is that human beings usually don't squander their energies on maligning things that they aren't afraid could hurt them. So are we threatening? Are we threatening you? Our friend here is asking, and no, we aren't. But we are playing around with you because we are aware that this sense of hurt, of fearing that somebody may descend from the sky and unleash hell upon you. Well, we didn't really do that to you. You had that going for a long, long time before we got in the picture. And you may consider that this, of course, is also experiences from different natural catastrophes, collisions of planetary bodies with the planet, all that stuff. But you may also consider that you were once children and there were people towering over you who were able to do all kinds of things against your will. Well, consider that when we come to your environment, we are in your environment and we are aware even though we have been a little haphazard in our interactions with you, we are aware that if we begin to tinker too much with this environment, we might just upset the scale in a way that would damage it in the way that we actually damaged our own originally. And that wouldn't be too helpful. So we're actually very, very careful when we're dealing with you. We're just not that clever. We didn't necessarily understand what we were dealing with before we found out. So the idea here is that you may find that all these things you mention, military, media, our friend here seems to not remember the third one, but we can assure you that what they have in common is that these are all, let's say, awarenesses, shared fields, intelligences that have a sense of their own frailty and would like to retain their own sense of dominance in whatever way, be that their ability to dominate militarily or to create a story, a reality. And so that's just to say that, well, what we can say is that we are actually here to help you free yourselves, create yourselves, become more hybridized. And with that, we actually mean activate more of that matter that's already within human beings that stem from many other places and that you are here to activate. So in that way, we are also here to help you tip over that scale, but it will be hard. And notice that these channels, what you do is actually that you often begin to circumvent them either by ignoring them and then by creating your own alternative realities. And we can say that in the sense that, for instance, you are at this moment interacting with something that's configuring reality in a different way. But this is, as you may know if you bring it up at a tea party, wherever, this is threatening to a lot of people's conception of reality. And so don't necessarily expect the institutions that you inherit from past ages where things were more, say, streamlined and controlled, that they will necessarily appreciate the type of freedom and unpredictability that we actually seek to bring. We hope this helps you, at least, you, dear ones, our beloved dear human beings that are here today, to feel that what we seek is open and honest exchange. Love. Um, and David asks, interesting. Yes, because what I'll read the question first. I had an unusual pain in my left shoulder under the bone yesterday, something I have never experienced before. Was this an activation that you were describing earlier? Thank you, Mass and the Grace. Yes, because what you're pointing to is, of course, a the same place that they described Essence was, but under your left shoulder, and his was under the right, I believe, and under it even Essence also says thank you, Mass and the Grace. So there's that mirroring principle again. Let's see what they say about that. Yes, this is a type of activation too. Exactly. And so many of you may feel now that you are becoming more aware of the intelligence that is dispersed throughout your body. And that is, you are discovering that there is throughout the body an intelligence that is not just mechanical or biomechanical, it's not just operated by the brain as a machinery, but it's actually an expanding vital system of information. And you may find, David, in your case, that this activation is in the left arm. It's it's showing you a type of heart opening. So you will find that it's it's actually wanting you to compress less here. And this means that, well, as your shoulder moves slightly upwards and outwards, there will be more room for the circuitries here behind your neck and ultimately running up to your crown to become activated. So yes, you may find that this receptivity is quite special, and you may also find that if you tune into your left fingers, knowing that you are quite sensitive to the energies of matters and different things, but you will find that it is as if your left fingers become readers that all have the ability to read slightly different energies. And this will make more sense to you intuitively than the people listening to this message, because you're already so developed in this way of intuiting information through the senses that this is where it comes. So it's building this neural pathway, this implant that allows information to be transmitted and also processed then by the brain and moved back into the mainframe. Thank you for feeling, exploring, sending you our love, sweet friend. Uh, and yes, I think like that's good timing. No further questions, but we can definitely get through the ones we have here. Um, this is yeah, it's awesome questions, guys. And Tony asks, dear friend, my partner and I are due to move somewhere magical soon. Will you please visit us there? And I think like that's a yes. They'll go into a little detail, but I'll just take the next ones. Um, oh no, we have answered that. That was Susanne's. Uh, so yes, because Jochen is also asked if you can explain what an implant is. So Tony is asking about whether his great guy Naka will visit them at their new place, and Jochen is asking about what an implant is and whether he has one. Yes, we will very much enjoy visiting you there, and we sense that this is the type of launchpad you are opening or building, so you are really preparing a space where things can descend and meet you. So we are essentially lining up. You have a lot of friends, but you are quite connected to the hybrid program. The IL are eagerly awaiting your coming. And know that when you say magical, you are right on point, because this is the type of reality change or activation that's taking place. And so here is the intuition of the segue into the question of what an implant is. Because an implant can have different qualities. Anything can. But the common denominator is that it acts as a type of reality grid determinator. So it collapses certain unpredictabilities in the wider multiverse grid. Understand here that you are constantly selecting for choosing how reality will shape itself out of an enormous amount of variables. And so some of those variables can be simply disallowed for within the general configuration of the system. So this is an implant. And consider this is actually the way that your reality operates. So in this process, what's happening with the thing that you call unconsciousness, the world, it's this influence that's collapsing your reality into a determined state, a set experience that you are having. And so your sense of agency, of determination being relatively low on the dimensional ladder, no offense, friends, but means that your challenge at this point is, of course, to even get some sense of determination, to even become aware of collapsing more of your energy grid. So the implants that we have installed, they function partially to, let's say, protect you from some energies, to shut you off from some influence and energies, to transmit some specific energies back to you, and to activate some energies within your reality grid. So it's a type of assistance for expansion of your reality. But expansion always takes takes place within a shape. You always need a mold to cast in. And and that's the idea of the implant, that these allow for certain developments to take place. And as you grow your awareness, you can become aware of them. You can also break them and remove them. And some of them may have a more negative character and seem to determine, let's say, more unwanted and harrowing emotional states. Whereas many of you may also sense that much of it may be connected to the sense of alienation, but also be connected then to the receptivity of very strong, very powerful, very healing and expansive information for the collective. And you are in that way light showers and way showers. And yes, dear Jochen, you do have one. And yours is located closer to, we get that it's approximately the 14th vertebrae. It should be about midway close to your solar plexus. And this is in particular related to the Orions. They are not familiar to our channeler here, but they do seem in frequency or vibration to be connected to you. So you can look into this. A way of expanding it would be to consume water where a sapphire has been placed in it for about an hour with the intent of establishing this energy. Love to you, dear ones. It's I don't know if you can tell. I really feel like the galactic phone is letting in a lot of things this evening. Uh, uh, um, yes, I think Asen asks, um, I feel like I have an inner child that is mean and wants to curse at everyone. How do I better nurture him? That's bless your heart, man. Like that is just that's cool. Like it's just a very cool image, very relatable. Let's see what they say how to nurture that mean inner child that wants to curse everyone. Try joining him because he's showing you a side of yourself that is disallowed for. And you are right there that notice your openness, your maturity, your ability to both identify and share this and put it into a succinct imagery that's heartwarming. So there's already this sweet tenderness in there. But what you're needing to do is to recognize that his purpose isn't to curse everyone. His purpose is to establish his right to also be himself. And in that, there is the curse is partially a banishment of the others, but it's also an establishment of self. And so if you join him, you can do this mentally, you can take it to extremes with him. And we know we are choosing say a more childlike choice of words here, but if you join him in saying that, well, yes, that's true. That person is a really stinky face. What a poo head. They don't understand everything. Stupid. And if you really take that out, and we are aware that it might sound more harsh in the way that people are being cursed in the inner monologue, but if you actually drive it to the utmost extreme, you will see that there is a type of cathartic impulse of letting this out. And if it really if it if it is really cultivated and you allow it to flow, you will see that there's actually a type of power. There's a vitality. There's a willing and a zest for life in that. And there is a type of wanting to relate to the world. There's a belief in the purpose of emoting, of talking, even of cursing in that child's way of expression. So the two of you begin shouting at people, if not on the outside, then on the inside. And then you'll find that this feeling will abate. And once the anger becomes a part of you, once you can both bless and curse other people, you will find that you don't have the need to do either, but they come forward as situation and your heart prescribes them. Blessings to you for this sweet one. We also transmit from these angelic watchers that participate in your being. Love. Um, uh, yes. So, love the shit out of him when he says that's super sweet. Yeah, no, that is so sweet. I want to see your animals. And when he says, please know that we send so much love to all of the great. Thank you for helping me and all of us understands much more the nature of our being and physical reality. Um, and then Artemis, greetings. This is Christine from Germany. Do I have an implant in my left ear? Why? How do I get rid of it? It irritates me. Am I a hybrid? Thanks. So, well, let's say the more relevant question is probably how much of your hybrid DNA is activating or influencing your system at the moment. And with that, we can sense that yes, there is a type of, let's call it maladaptivity here to human energies. And this is something that you will want to go into deeper. So we sense in your case, you may want to move deeply into out of body traveling, and there you will find great assistance. And the messages that are in this implant in the left ear will be clearly received by you because the irritation is that the transmission are not being necessarily received, but they're still coming through as activation codes. And that dissonance, if you begin to move into it, there will be guides standing ready there to begin to open this and work with the implant. And you might actually find that it has quite a lot of capacity for creating and broadcasting interesting things, this one. So we transmit our love from the mothership and to you, love. No, let him play, let him create, go buy your favorite toys, says Mandy. It's just it's so cute. Thank you for being so loving, guys. Um, and I'm so glad to hear it resonated and Miss Reckoning says much love, much love. Um, and that Chuck says, I saw what appeared to be a UFO. I had a sense that it came from blue aliens. I've connected with many species, but never yet with the blue aliens. What is the significance of the sighting? Um, that's it's because I wanted to take that as the last one and just see if I had anything I felt they should say. So yes, I'll do that one, and then we'll do a regular roundup and everything. So asking about the blue avian sighting here. Yes. Well, yes. The thing is here that we sense that this all sighting also represents a type of tipping program for you personally, Chuck, and you may sense that your level of contact is beginning to expand into something that is more akin to regular conversation. Let's remain intentionally mysterious, but say that the blue avians are somebody who you are aware of, but it has not been very relevant for either of you to connect too much to each other, as they are mainly engaged in, let's call them, very direct or very hands-on knowledge to be applied to the ongoing developments in your human collective. So that's to say that many of the difficult circumstances that you may be experiencing in your societies and in your economies and in, well, on a planetary scale on your ecosystem, that many of these things are things that the blue avians also have, things that they are very interested in helping you with. And this is related to that communication. They say hi. They're looking forward to chatting. No, yeah, no. That is so sweet, guys. Awesome. You can tell I'm kind of I'm semi in the state, right? So, but I just wanted them. I want to ask them, how do they see humans these days? So I wanted to talk a little about that. So I'll just get them to answer that question, and then round off with whatever kind of activation or message they'll give us. You see, where we still differ much from each other, we, the grace, even though we have individuated and you human beings, but where we differ much from each other is that you are still very versatile beings. You haven't set a locked timeline on your collective explorations. And at the moment, much of what seems to be bothering human beings is, how do they tap into a state of greater connectivity while still remaining aware of themselves. And this is a strange process that you're observing, that this need to scale yourself differently in a world that is interconnected, and where personality seems to be put under an undue strain when it enters into hyper reality. So that's to say that at the moment we see human beings as a bit confused and suffering under the weights of identity. But we also see that you're very much developing into beings who are aware of yourselves more as vibrant systems of energy with self-concepts, rather than rigid persons that move about and do specific things because that is who you are. And so this is an interesting development for us to witness. And we would like to think that we have, to some little extent, also been instrumental in pushing some of these transpersonal agendas that you human beings are now moving into, where you find that the fact that you become aware of yourself as something wholly more than simply this one single individual is what also makes that one single individual that you are fully shine its light forward in the whole. And that we greatly appreciate. And therefore we really enjoy human beings as so variable, so unpredictable, and so precious in these uneven refractions of light that you give off. And with that, we will offer a tonal activation. Hold on to your implants. Feel the signals attracting you. This great unknown, you are falling forward into a mystery that reveals a greater whole. Keep exploring with us. Thank you for exploring this evening. Your great friends, the hybrid program, and your personal friend, yours truly, Yaminsun. We say farewell and send our love to you, dear ones. Farewell. No. Love you guys. Thank you so much for the sweet messages and wonderful energy. Couldn't do it without you. So I'm glad it resonated out there, and I'll bid you adieu. Have a wonderful uh, yes, have a wonderful equinox, and see you soon. Much love, guys.